Hello everybody, this is JackBeat1024 and welcome to episode 53 of our Dynamic Factory Let's Play series. So in the last episode, we got this memory bank set up here, and it can store what the maximum number of resources we saw and consumed in 1 second, and also the total number of resources produced and consumed in the last minute in it. So from here we can see these are our totals, so 3.3 thousand, 608 iron gears and 114 steel plates, and this is our consume, so 3.8 thousand iron ore, 3.5 thousand iron plates and 172 coal. And our peaks are at the top, so we had a peak consumption of 73 iron ore and 65 iron plates, and we had a peak production of 62 iron ore, 55 iron plates, 9 iron gears and 1 steel. So in today's episode, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be extending this so that we can have basically the last hour's worth of data in what our production and consumption was. We're also going to duplicate this setup up the top, and that'll be because obviously when we're finalizing the data and reading it over to our larger memory area, we're going to need to keep storing what our current readings are. So I think I'm going to actually do that first, because it should be, we'll probably need, just go with all of this, but we don't need these large electric poles over here. And we don't need all of this. I do want to keep those medium poles, and I think that's about it. I don't need you, don't need you, don't need you, don't need you. All these constant combinators. Okay, so that should be everything we need. We'll just need to line it up. And oh, that is what I wanted. Just a few bots going around. We connect that up. They should be, yeah, that should be all fine. Okay. That's weird. Are these in? No, they're part of this network. We should actually have all those resources, so I'll quickly go over and see what's going on. I don't see any reason why we shouldn't. And actually, while I'm over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and find one of these chests, and I'm going to put the whole stack of big electric poles into it. It's fine, we can make some more our stuff in a second. No, there's actually not much. Why is this low? Copper. Okay. So we're going to have to put on hold what we were planning to do. We're going to have to fix up our copper mine first. That's fine. While I'm fixing up the copper mine, there's actually something I wanted to think about and talk about. So we'll do those two things at the same time. So, thinking ahead to... Ooh, we low on power? We are. There's always multiple things going on here. Okay, but... so thinking ahead to... the future, we're going to want to get our brain set up, and there's two different ways I can think that we can set up our brain for this factory. So one way is that we make a brain that's specialized for the factory, and basically, it's a bunch of combinators designed to do exactly what it needs to do. I do not have any belts. Okay. So to be designed to do, exactly what we need the brain to do. And it'd be good because it'll be the fastest we can make a brain because it's, specifically designed for this task. And we can, paralyze everything that we need to. But the downside to it is it'll be the hardest one to change. Because say we find a small little thing, or we decide we need to change, you know, how it works slightly. Because it's so specialized for it, you know, we're going to have to redo the circuit. Like imagine like this sort of brain, and we have to, you know, change it slightly. You know, we have to rework how this part of the circuit works. We're going to have to figure out what we need to change, how we need to change it, and that's all a lot of work and can be fairly complex. Now the other way we could make our brain, let's just see how much. Don't have. Yep. So the other way we could make the brain is that instead of having it set up to be exactly what we need for the factory, we could basically make a computer sort of thing. And so the advantages of that would be, how we'd set it up is, would have, you know, our program combinators and our program storage area. And then when we need to change something, you know, we can just change the assembly code for that program. And most of the circuit won't need to be changed at all. Of course, that's got its downsides in that it's going to be slower because it's not specialized for this one task. It's possibly going to be less complex, only because it's not so specialized. Like it's more modular and there's more single components that are fairly similar to each other. So yeah, they're my two thoughts of what we're going to have to do. As for which one we go with, I haven't decided yet. I have done some work in the past just by myself, making a computer in Factorio. And I think the fastest one I came up with had every instruction took 8 in-game ticks. So if we follow through with that, that means every second we can do about 7 instructions. So that's, you know, obviously going to be a lot slower than being able to do essentially an infinite number of instructions in the same tick, because, you know, you can parallelize it as far as you want with circuits. But it would be a lot easier to set up actually doing a computer and then modifying. It's just simply modifying the code and then modifying a bunch of combinators, constant combinators that store that code. Well, this is actually going to take longer than I'd hoped, so I'm going to put a break in and we'll be back when all our construction is done. So I thought while our bots are busy, you know, constructing all this and waiting for all these combinators to slowly be crafted, though it's faster now that we've got our copper set back up, I would start actually making the memory cells that we're going to use to store, you know, not just a minute starter, but an hour worth of minute starters. So 60 minutes worth of data, basically. So let's just get power across to here, and I'll probably try to line it up so we want it in sort of this line here. Well, what we're going to need to store is we're going to need to store 4 bits of data, because we need to store the total consumed. No, this is produced. The total produced, the total consumed, the maximum produced, and the maximum consumed. And we need to store it for every hour, so we need 4 things here. We'll give it... Yep, that should work fine. 2 big electric poles, and we should be able to... Basically, if we connect green to one and red to the other, then we can get both sets of data on one single pole. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect these outputs here down into these 2 buffers here. They should be, yep. And this way we can have one of these buffers on red and the other one on green, and they'll stay in sync. because they're both waiting 1 tick before sending through. So we connect the red to that one, and these can just connect to this side here. Yep, that should be fine. I'll connect the red and green up this way, and this way we can connect to the other end. Oh, let me think. Okay, I'm going to have to consider how we make sure we pull data from the right spot. Yeah, we can just connect the green straight up. I see no... Oop, red is actually connected. No, it's that one. So there we go. We connect the red. And we can connect the green. Yeah, so I thought we're going to have an issue because we'll either be pulling from this set or this bank. And this current setup we have right now doesn't actually allow us to do that. So we'll need to, you know, have something else here that's like only actually pass it through if this is the bank we want to pull from. But that should be fine. We can think about that soon. Just as long as we keep it in mind, we should be alright. Now the next thing I'm going to want is I'm going to want this green value. Now I kind of just want the green value, so I'm going to actually get just the green value off it. You're not connected to anything. Okay, cool. So here are our memory cells. We don't want them polluting it. So we're going to have to use this color. Okay, let me just consider if this is going to be an issue. I know how we can fix it. More buffers. That's fine. So green goes to there, green goes to there, and we can disconnect the red and instead plug it into those ones. Now this way, you know, all of our, we want this on the green line. There we go. We can have green line connected to all of them. That's perfect. So as long as red is 0, output everything. And that's already not what we want. Kind of need to pass it into a different 4. I'll use green. If green is 0, yep, that should be fine. Okay, let me consider how we'll do this. Because what we need a signal, which we'll have as green. And that will determine whether or not we write to this one. But we need that signal to go to all 4 of them. So what we'll need we can make do with 2 combinators, I think, in this case. Let's make them buffers. Have the red connect the buffers to each other. Set you to green. Then we can set one of these. And we can set the green to connect to the other one. Actually, no, that's going to have an issue because the green line will connect to the next row. So if the green line didn't connect up this way, then we'd be fine, but because it does, we can't do that. We need to connect it on the red. Which basically means that we need to have four buffers. Yep, your red connected to this one. Your red's connected to that one. Your red connected to that one. Your red connected there. Connect these together on the green and they will all get connected to this constant common need for the moment, which we can set to green being 1. Okay, there we go. Let me think. This is how we want it. Okay. So we want a way to write each memory cell. But obviously when their green is not 0, they're not going to output anything. Which is why we normally use red. Because then we can use red to reset them. Unless we don't make these into memory cells. Instead we have memory cells over here. Oop. And these just connect into the memory cells. So your output to your input. Okay, so these will only let the value through when green is 0. That value will then get stored into these 4 memory cells. We would also want a way to reset what value they currently have. We could use red for that, but that would reset everyone. I'm going to actually do a quick change. I'm going to change that to being on the green line. That way we still got the red line free to go connect to rows that are above or below. So let us make a clock so we can at least see what's going on and make sure that it's all working. So as long as green is less than 60, output green. Another one here. If green equals 0, output a value of 1. And then we should be able to just connect that output to here, and now every second this should work, but it doesn't. Oop, sorry, this is backwards. When green is not 0, output 1. Of course, I'm not going to be able to tell what any of these say now, so there we go. Okay, so that's working. So every second it's writing the values that we got in the input to these, which is one of the things I want. I also want to be able to reset this row, which is going to be a difficult thing to set up. Because to reset the row, what we need to do is we need to get their value. We need to multiply it by -1, or we just give it a red value. what we could do yep, that's what I want. If we get this same green input here, you're already connected to something. Okay, cool. Take that input, bring it over to this side, connect your output to that input. That seems to work fine. It's already got the correct delay too. So that means that before these actually get their new value, this thing sends out a red to clear all 4 of these memory cells. And then on the next tick, they get what their new value is. I think that'll work just fine. Now, what are they set up to when green is 0? Your output of 1 and then occasionally a 0. Okay, how are we going with the top path? Still going. So what I want to do, we've got this clock over here, and we know it takes, well, 60 to get to the top row. Then it takes a few more ticks, so we'll say on 62, we know that this is definitely set. So what I'd want is on 62, on whichever line, here we go, this line's where it comes across on here. So where green is 62, that's when we set out a green signal of 1, which basically is telling us to go to the next row. Then want something that can actually count which row we're on. Yeah. As long as green's less than 60. Output green. I think I want to include 1 more with that. So that means this green line will go between 1 and 61? 1 and 60. That should work fine. The next thing we need to know is what number this particular row needs. So just do our normal, actually I don't need you. You work fine by yourself. So green -1, output green. This is now in my way. It's okay, we can go there. I want to get rid of this for the second. Why is this counting up though? Green is 62. Because this is always outputting 1. Okay. Connect them on red. There we go. So our green goes through to there. Also will go up that way. So we've got -1, -2, -3. Which is how we determine which row to do. This tells us which row we're about to write into. What we need then, so we need a kind of unusual circuit here because we need pulse generator. I think I want it both directions. I'll make this red. So if this value is changed, which is what I want to get the detection for, what I want to do is get our green value in that situation. So we get the output from there, we get this one. This can get a red of -1. This will output a red of 1. So when red is 0, output your green. This will get the same green value that gets. Yeah, so for one tick that this thing changes, this thing will send out the green signal. And that just goes on the red line. That should work fine. Okay, I'm going to put down another clock and we're going to use this clock to actually test this circuit here. So make this clock just count up to 60. Yep, simple enough. Connect the red up, disconnect the green. And this time we'll make it on, say, 5. Cool, so that's counting up fine. Now this should get a input signal that switches between -1 and whatever row we're going to write to. And these should only change. Oop. Okay, good. That'll work fine. So when this wraps around to 0, the first row should be written to. And it looks like it was just written to. And it was. So the next thing we need to do is we need to basically copy. Don't think that's close enough to get the copy on it. Yeah. Copy this circuit over here to this side. Connect the red end, green goes to the next one, and you get, actually we read out on the red here. Oh, we can do both. So that should reset this row when we need to get it reset. Oop. Equals 0. Why is it connected the wrong way? There we go. So what value are we at? Oh, we just wrapped around. Okay, let's actually speed this up. So we'll go to 30, which will double the speed that this counts up at. Maybe we'll only count to 22. Should basically see this get cleared, and then the same value basically will be written back to it. And that appears to be what's happening. If we didn't have that connection, it shouldn't clear it, and yeah, it counts it up. Good. So that's kind of a fairly complex system. We have what? 4, 8, 12, 14 combinators per row. There's no super easy way to read off this row's data. Don't think it'll actually fit if we try to get the output of this one connected here. No. Okay. So we know this circuit works, but is it the best circuit we can get? What we might need to do instead if I put this here, can I connect that up? I can. Okay, so we're going to move this one over here with those 3. We're actually going to get rid of that row. output of you into your input. Red that way. Okay, so now it actually goes over here, and that gives us room for 4 of these. Yep. Green is 0, output red is 1. That's fine. We can connect this. Yeah, okay, I can connect on the green line, that'll work fine. So if we connect input, 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 we can connect your red output to that input, your red output to that input, yours to that one, yours to that one. It's a mess of wires going on here. So here's our 4 memory cells. They then go to these 4 cells, which are set to output. Why aren't you... Because you're not connected to the right one. Should be connected to that one. Cool, okay, so these will be set to output if green is 0, which means what I could do... so there's no way for me to connect that in. Unless I did something like that, yep. And I can connect the red here. So I can put a green value on this, and that'll tell it which one to actually output. Okay, let's actually check that this works on multiple rows. Okay, so that's the combinators we're going to want. Let's just lay these all down. And then we'll need to make a bunch of connections between one row and the next. Okay, so this red here connects up, this green connects to this line here, these greens connect upwards, no connection that way, I think you're all connected fine, this red has to connect up, and then we need our 4 outputs, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to connect them on the red. Okay, so if we have green set to 0, we're reading from a line that doesn't exist, and so we don't read anything. If we have green set to 1, we'll read from this line, and if we have green set to 2, we should be reading from the top line, and of course they're the same, so we don't actually know which line we're reading from. We should see, let's see where we're at, here we go. I think you might have seen it just then. We did actually read from what appeared to be the bottom and then the top line. 1920, so bottom, top, yep. Okay, that works. Now the only issue is, well, we've got, you know, combinators in line with poles, which means what we're going to have to do to make the next set of rows, so we're going to have to put this here. This one will have to go there and there. And our red makes that way and that way. How are we going? Still 115 more combinators. So we'll put all these down, connect all those lines through. Yep, this just goes that way and that way. Cool. So again, red connects that way, green. Yeah, your green output goes to your input. Yep, that's all we need to connect that way. Red needs to go up, red needs to go up. That doesn't connect that way. This is the one that I was thinking of. Okay, green. To there, to there, to there, to there. That red goes to there. And these greens have to be connected in. So now we should have 4 rows worth of data being able to be stored. And it didn't look like it continued on. Like it, nope, they've got data in them, so it worked. Though, that's a bit weird, there's something missing. Ah. Oh, I didn't even notice that this green here wasn't connected up. Okay, so hopefully these all now have the right values. That all looks good. Okay, so there we go. So all we need to do, connect this one back into this, and then on 65, actually, did I say 65? You know, it's got to just be above 60. So 65 works fine. 65 and let's say 5, because we'll need one when we finish this block, and that would be on the 65th, because that's when it's doing the 5th row here. And on the 5th row here, it's finished this block. So that's when we can get the numbers through. And then we just need to have these be changed slightly so that they're only outputting when we are going to need their data. But yeah. Let's check how we're going for time. That looks like that's an episode. So we haven't quite got this whole thing set up yet, and these might be in the way. Well, the roboports will be. But yeah, I think that's a good spot to finish. So this is JackB1024 signing off. Have a good day, and I'll see you tomorrow.